Morning. I'd like to tell you about a book that I'm reading right now. I'm so excited about it. I'm not telling you to read it, although it's a great read and I highly recommend it. It's called Cybernetics, written in the 60s, and it's absolutely a classic on how we learn and how we grow and how we can start working towards success rather than procrastinating. So I don't know if you've ever procrastinated in your life, but if you have, it would be a good read. Anyway, what it does is it introduces an idea called a servo mechanism. Now, people who actually understand electronics or understand electrical systems or understand computers, they understand what a servo mechanism is. I had to look it up. This is what a servo mechanism is. It's anything that is okay with being in a certain place, but as soon as something is off track, it brings it back to the same place. I'll give you an example. A thermostat is a servo mechanism. So if you're between 20 and 21 degrees Celsius, if you've set your thermostat, if you're within a certain range, it doesn't do anything. But as soon as it goes too high or too low, a system kicks in. If it goes too high, AC turns on. If it goes too low, furnace kicks in, and it brings you back into alignment. Now, we have servo mechanisms all over the place. They're a really common machine or a part of a machine in our society. But did you know that our brain is kind of like a servo mechanism? And I'll give you some examples. How did you learn to walk? You didn't learn to walk by going, oh, that person's walking, I want to do that, and jumping up and walking. That's not how, at least I wasn't told that's how it worked for me, and I know that's not how it worked for my kids, or other kids that I've met and I've watched. The way our brains work is we see something, we want something, we've got a goal in mind, and then if we're off on that goal, if we're falling over, or if we keep falling over to the left, or we keep on, jumping up too high and bouncing off the floor instead of just standing up normally, whatever is wrong, we fail. And through those failures, we learn and we go, oh, that wasn't exactly what we need. Let's tweak something, let's change something. And through a lot of trial and error, we learn to walk. Well, that's exactly the same way we reach our goals. I've yet to meet a person, maybe someone's out there, I haven't met them yet to meet a person who wanted a goal and simply achieved it, made no mistakes along the way. In fact, I've met a lot of people who initially had some quick success, and because of that, their failures were far harsher later on in life because they didn't learn what they needed to up front. I'd like to share a story with you. This is my favorite servo mechanism story. It's me learning how to barefoot water ski. My family used to go to Kelowna, to the Okanagan in the summers, and there was a boat. We would ski, we would water ski, we would snow, we would kneeboard, we would do all these other things. Air chair, we had a bunch of toys out there. And I watched people barefoot water skiing and thought, that is unbelievable. You can stand on your feet on the water. This is just unreal. This is something I've always wanted to do. So I decided that I was going to learn one summer. And this is within the first day or two of the summer. I decided this is what I'm going to do. So we talked to somebody who was older and wise, who knew how to barefoot water ski. Actually, they were a trick barefoot water skier. They were unbelievable at it. So I thought, I've got a great coach. So they gave me a few tips. And then we went out in the morning, so we had to go out at like 4:30 in the morning. At least I remember it being 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when the lake is glass, when it's really smooth. If it's really choppy, obviously that's not ideal for water skis that are only a foot long, right? So we would get up early, and I would bug my dad over and over and over. We would get up early, morning after morning after morning. He would wake up. I was so grateful for this, and we would go out and try. And my brother would sit in the boat. And what we did was I would put my toes across the rope, and I would throw my head back. And just before I threw my head back into the water, I would say, hit it. So I would throw my head back in the water. And then my dad's job was to hit the accelerator to get up to speed at about 37, 38 miles per hour, as quick as possible. And at that point, I could plant and barefoot water ski. But here's the problem. I tried it, and it didn't work because I was hitting the bubbles. So I had to get outside of the wake. If you know anything about boats or behind a boat, there's a wake. So you got the bubbles from the propeller, and then you've got the wake, and then there was this really smooth part outside of the wake. And so I was trying to get out of there, and I failed so many times, even in just trying to get outside of the wake, because I don't really have a good rudder on my backside. Okay, so I was trying to get outside of the wake, and I remember the first few times getting outside of the wake because you're working so hard, and I had failed so many times, and eventually I learned just to get over that crest of the wake, and then there's just this calm. There's all this hard work, and then you just hit the smoothness outside of the wake, and it's just so peaceful. Anyway, that was not even the middle of my problems. This was still near the beginning of my problems. I started planting, and sometimes I wouldn't plant hard enough immediately, or sometimes I would plant too hard, and sometimes I would be waiting for the wrong speed. Sometimes I wouldn't hit it at the right place outside in this calm place. And so I fell a lot. And there's a common thing that happens to barefoot water skiers, and most people claim that it only happens once. You'll learn your lesson. And that is, you make the mistake when your feet break through the water to not turn around. What happens at 40 miles an hour, if your feet go through the water and you don't turn quickly and hit the water with your back, what happens is your front hits the water and your feet kick in the back of the head. That did happen once to me, and it only happened once, thankfully, gratefully. But a lot of other things happened. I broke toes that summer. We were there for 30 days. And for most of those days, I was trying to do this. So I broke toes that summer. I wrenched my back. I was out for a few days at different times because I was just so sore from trying all this. But it happened over the course of this summer, over the course of 30 days, over the course of this summer trip, that on the very last day, this is so crazy, I still remember it, on the very last day, I came to the crest of the wake, and it was always hard. It was always a struggle to getting over there. But I was confident now, because I'd done it literally probably 100 times by then. And I hit the smoothness of the wake, and I planted, and I was up. It was an amazing feeling. I think sometimes the reason I was falling through because I was straightening my legs too hard, and I needed to bend a little bit. Anyway, I had gotten up, and it felt fantastic. And it built a ton of confidence in me along the way. I had now confidence to get outside of the wake. I had confidence to plant. I had confidence where I do all those things. But the confidence came from failure. The confidence came from pain. The confidence came from taking action and learning on the go. Now, there are a very few people on this planet, very, very few, who can watch other people's mistakes and learn from them. And even those people need to learn certain things on their own. Again, everyone needs to learn to walk on their own, in my opinion, okay? Maybe I'm wrong with that. This is my belief. My brother had been watching me all summer, and he'd been watching all of my failures and all of my mistakes, because he was the spotter. He was the one to watch when I fell, to say, turn around, Dad, Mark fell again. He watched me all summer. Rumor has it, I didn't watch this, I didn't experience it myself, because I was gone the next summer working. But rumor has it that my brother got up on his first try. He had watched me carefully and got up on his first try. Now, I hesitate to even tell that part because I think most people are like me. Now, you'd probably learn faster than me, but most people need to learn from their own mistakes, not from other people's mistakes. My brother's a weird breed, and I respect him for that. Here's the challenge to you. Whether it is real estate investing, whether it is business, whether it is communication, whether it is relationships, the key to learning is actually failure. We have a servo mechanism in our minds, in our brains, that when we are off track, when we don't hit what our goal is, and we need a goal for this, a specific goal, but when we don't hit our goal, we go, okay, there's something wrong, what can I change? Here's the problem. In our society, often we believe that there is something called visual learners. And this has been completely debunked. We're all visual learners on some level. It helps to get something in our eyes, to our brains, to help learn. Okay, that does help. But none of us are primarily visual learners. All of us are primarily experiential learners. Now, maybe you could argue my brother is a visual learner. He watched me, okay? But he has the ability, this is my guess, he has the ability to experience what I'm experiencing in the moment. So it's going to plant that in his brain, okay? And we can talk about it another time because there's an art to that. I've started learning that as well and getting better at making less mistakes and learning lessons quicker. But for most of us, again, the vast majority of human beings, we are experiential learners. Some people call it kinesthetic, but we are experiential learners. We need to experience things. We don't learn from mistakes unless we experience them ourselves, almost all the time, for almost every human being. Here's my challenge to you this week. And it's going to be following the same way I read in Cybernetics, as well as I've learned through my own practice of learning the hard way and gaining some experience and growing confidence. If you want confidence, here's the simple structure. Now, it's far more complex than this, but this is the simple structure. Number one, set a specific goal. if you don't have a specific goal, you don't know what to reach for. You can make mistakes, but you don't know how to correct it. You don't know where you're going in the end, okay? If you don't know which direction you're going, then how do you know where to correct it? So that's the first thing, have a goal. And there's even something before that, and that's understand why you want what you want. I'm not going to get into that this morning. Secondly, you gotta start taking action. And third, start measuring what you've been doing. Is it taking you towards your goal or not? It doesn't have to be water skiing. It doesn't have to be in the middle of something that is that experiential, okay? You can say, I want to earn a certain amount from a certain amount of rental properties, or I want to buy a commercial real estate building, or whatever it is. And if you've got that goal, then you measure yourself and go, am I getting closer? Do I have enough money for a down payment? Are people entertaining my offers? Am I negotiating well? Are all these steps fitting into place? Now, when I buy the property, is it making money for me? Now, that one I highly recommend learning from other people's mistakes rather than your own. But all of these are mistakes, and we can learn from these. The best way to learn is experientially. We don't have to make the worst mistakes ourselves. All of us can learn in some ways through other people's experiences and visually, okay? But the biggest lesson is that we learn through experience. We don't learn through vicariously through others for the most part. We don't learn by watching more videos or reading more books. That's not how we learn primarily. We learn by taking action. So set a goal, start taking action, have a way to measure it, and then keep making tweaks. If you are doing that, you're constantly moving in the right direction. I spoke to somebody high up in the Navy one time who said to me, I was talking about this idea, and he said, do you know, Mark, how often a ship is on course, perfectly on course? And I said, how often? And I think that he said something like over 98% of the time, a ship is off course. And the job of a ship's captain is to notice when he or she is off course and bring the ship back on the course. And that's it. That's one of the greatest secrets to success, is failing a lot, exploring that failure, learning from that failure, and then after that, forgetting the failure. I don't remember all the mistakes I made. I remember some of them because they hurt with barefoot water skiing. But you can forget most of that stuff afterwards and just do the right thing. That's the key. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me, okay? Enjoy your week. You've got this.